You're listening to Wellness Junkies, where wellness gets real, not perfect.
Welcome to Wellness Junkie, Lori Montry. Very excited to have you here. So everyone, today we are going to learn about somatic healing. So Lori Montry helps people make sense of why they feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unable to follow through, even when they care deeply and know what to do. As a somatic healing practitioner and educator, she teaches how the nervous system shapes behavior, motivation, and choice, and why willpower alone is often not the answer. Lori is the author of You're Not the Problem and the creator of the Freedom Formula, a body-based approach to lasting change. Welcome to the show, Lori. Very excited for this conversation.
Yeah, I am as well. And I just have to say, I have just become such a huge fan of the podcast since we got connected. And I always have my pen and paper because your guests have the best information and resources. So
that's so sweet of you to say. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we all need a little bit of help with our nervous system. So I want to hear specifically all the things, but first just taking it back to the basics, like what is a somatic healing practitioner? Because most people probably don't know.
Yeah, right. And it's a challenge. I always struggle a bit to say, you know, what my role is, because people will like, huh? Or right. Some people just, you know, kind of nod. Oh, okay, that's nice.
Right.
Great, right.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously somatic, from the Greek word soma, from the body. And it's really making sure that everything we do, every goal that we have is run through the body, right? That the body is more or less in charge. We tend to think, especially as Westerners, our mind is the boss, but it really is mind and body. And so I help people kind of get reconnected with their body, and that can look like, you know, needing to process some old energy that may have gotten stuck through life's difficult challenges. It can be learning how to tune into the body as the primary compass. And really just learning how to be your own resource for yourself, you know, that one that's going to be right beside you 100% of the time, 100% on your side, is done through the body. So it's a really important piece that I feel like gets left out a lot. But when you bring it in, everything can start to really make sense.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people probably aren't aware really, because it's just like a different piece of your health. So you talk a lot about the nervous system running behind the show, as you just mentioned, and we'll get into like how to access it. But what are some signs that someone might be stuck in survival mode without even realizing it?
Yeah. And this is tricky because we get so normalized to the way things are and to the way we are, that we may have no reference point for things being any different. And that certainly was the case for me. I had no idea. I cut off from my body when I was around 4 years old as a result of sexual abuse and just a really difficult time in my little life, right? And so the best thing, the most intelligent thing for me to do was just shut down to my body, to its experiences. And unfortunately, we don't get to shut down only to the difficult things. When we shut down across the board. And so I didn't know that I was disconnected from my body. And I was missing out and felt so unanchored in the world. And it wasn't until I really took a deep dive into somatics that I even realized that I was that disconnected. So some of the signs are, you know, kind of a lot of things that we just think are part of our modern world. It's being stressed, overwhelmed. It can be things like ADHD type symptoms, feeling disconnected, feeling unable to sleep. I mean, the list is honestly pretty much anything, right? And it can be so different for different people. And that's why when you're struggling in life, whether that is in your relationships, your finances, your just your sense of well-being, whatever it is, there is a root. I'm not saying it's 100%, but there's a root in the body. And so that's a great place to start.
How did you discover somatics? Like, it sounded like your body was kind of switched off. Like, how long were where you switched off, and then what sort of made you be like, there's got to be something going on? Like, how did you even find this practice or this arena? I don't even know how you.
Yeah, arena, exactly. Yeah, it really came because as I developed a very wise adaptation, and adaptations are something that I talk a lot about in the book. But as a result of my early experiences, I developed the habit or the behavior of turning to food to help me, to soothe me, to quiet that noise, to make me feel a little bit better when I didn't have any other place to go. So began my emotional eating behaviors right around, that young age, 4 or 5. And,
oh, wow. That's very early.
Yeah.
Wow.
Went on my first diet at 6. So I was fighting my body from, kind of from day one. And as I discovered and then began my training in how to overcome that behavior, I stumbled upon somatic experiencing as part of that world. And as I explored it, I realized, not necessarily right away, again, because I didn't have any other reference point, right? But I'd be doing like exercises and trying to apply the information that I was learning, and I just couldn't stay in the exercises. I couldn't build a practice of my own. I'd be there and I'd be sitting and I'd be thinking about, okay, what's going on in my body? Oh, was that the dryer? Oh, the clothes are done. Oh, let me go take the clothes. I was fooling myself because I knew, my body, my nervous system had known for decades, it's not safe to be inside there. Right. And so without even realizing it subconsciously, I couldn't do it. And that's what I hear from a lot of people, oh, I tried meditation. I just can't sit still.
Yeah.
I just can't. When I hear I can't sit still, maybe you have a lot of energy and maybe you're protecting yourself from being inside where it might feel kind of scary still.
Yeah. So we know like there's things people do to escape, like scrolling, moving, all these things. So like, and we know what's good for us, but most of the time we just don't do it. Like what's really going on there? Again, is it just like, we're not looking inwards? We're not really tackling, we're just avoiding?
Yeah. I mean, so I hate to generalize and say, here's your exact issue, right? We don't know.
Right.
But that's one of the beautiful things about the work is that it's never me telling you, here's what's going on for you. It's me helping you rediscover your own wisdom so you can figure out what's going on for you. But having said that, generally speaking, and a lot of my foundational work, which is the first phase of the freedom formula, is getting your nervous system regulated, flexible, and resilient. Essentially, that means switching out of survival mode, because so many of us are in survival mode much, if not all of the time. I mean, how can we not be in the world that we live in, with between, the toxins, the constant strife. I mean, everything that's going on, so many of us are in survival. And so when you're in survival, you don't have what you need. You don't have the conditions to be able to follow through. Right. So let's take me, for example. When I was in my deepest, darkest days of emotional eating, I woke up every day and made my plan to stop, to follow through. Right. And it doesn't have to be as severe as that. Someone might say, gosh, I've been noticing for months or years, I'm drinking too many nights of the week, and I know that it's hurting my health. Or someone might say, I need to start walking. I need to start doing the thing, or I know that you've got wonderful guests on here that talk about our skin health and like just starting my skin routine, anything that we are talking about literally costs capacity, right? And if you are in survival mode, capacity is one thing you don't have. As much as you want the thing, you will not follow through if you don't have the capacity. It's like, yes, I want a pair of Gucci shoes, but my bank account's at 0. You're not going to get the shoes, right? And if your capacity account is at 0, you're not going to follow through. And instead of looking at that and turning it on yourself and saying, oh, why am I such a failure? Why can't I just do the thing like I did?
Right. I'm not disciplined. Yeah.
Yes. Every single day. Why am I such a willpower weakling? I just need to do the thing. So all of our effort and energy is put into, that push and do the thing and how we're such a failure, when really that effort, if we spent it on building our capacity, then we would have what we need to be able to follow through effortlessly. And
so how do we do that? How do we build our capacity to follow through on more things that we want to do?
Right. Yeah. And so let me just say, I recognize how hard that is. Like, for me to say this, like 99.9% of people are like, just tell me how to do the things so I can get my results as quickly.
I know, it's not funny. We all just want the easy answer. Like, what are the things they need to do?
Totally. And that's another sign that we're out of capacity. Because when, and I know for myself, man, when I thought about, what it might actually take to heal myself, rather than just control myself and, for 3 weeks, if I can just drink these smoothies for 3 weeks, I'll be okay. I'll be where I want to be. Right. And and I heard lots of advice that says, oh, you need to, do these types of things. You need to get to the root. And I'm like, okay, you're not for me. Right.
Right.
You're
like, what does that mean?
Exactly. I just need you to tell me. So your question, how do we build capacity, is such a great one. And I just preface it by saying there's a little bit of effort here, and that's okay. But aren't you tired of trying to change things at the level of your behavior? Right. It's exhausting, and it's cruel. I think it's like when we do this to ourselves, it's like, we're this little seed, and we throw ourselves into this empty pot and put a couple tablespoons of sand, put us in a closet and with no light, and say, okay, grow, blossom.
Right. Right.
So creating the conditions for yourself. Actually, the whole second section of the book is all about how to build capacity. And it's really 3 elements to capacity, just like your bank account, right? So you need to think about deposits, about expenditures, and about investment. So when you think about deposits, these are things like, for different people, they're going to look a little bit different. But like for me, right, I deposit into my capacity account every day when I start my day with my morning practice. It's me, and I'm quiet. I'm tuning into my body. I'm listening, and my body might want some type of somatic practice, like hand on heart, some breath work, something like that. And so I'm just, big deposits. I'm listening to myself through my journaling, big deposits. I have sound. I have essential oils. I have all of these things, my toolbox that helps me deposit into my capacity account. The second thing is to watch expenditures. There are certain things in my life that cost me a lot. And we all have them, right? For one person, it might be, having to answer emails. For another person, it might be traffic. And also recognizing that our lifestyle can be huge withdrawals, right? If we're eating a lot of hyper-processed foods or sugars or alcohol, those kinds of things steal from your capacity. So it's getting to know your system, both with respect to how can you put more capacity in, how do you protect what's there. And the third piece is really staying within your budget every single day. And that is tough for us. And especially I think for women, we've got so many pieces. So it's not an easy task to look at your life and say, and every morning I teach the practice of capacity accounting, where you literally take inventory, how much capacity is in there, and you look at your day and you adjust accordingly, and you check in with yourself to make sure, because everything costs more than you think it's going to, number one. And number two, there's always going to be some stuff that come in that you didn't expect. So we have to be flexible when we're doing this. But when people start doing this, it's shocking that they are, and I'm certainly guilty of this, that we're overspending every single day. And that has consequences, just like if you go over and overspend in your bank account every day.
I love that framework and that way to think about it. I was actually just talking with a guest recently, Lindsay Kasuba, who's a wellness mentor, and she was talking about it similar but different, like an energy bank, like your cell phone battery, like just thinking about that more intentionally. And this framework kind of dives a little bit deeper into that. And I really like that because you're right. I think the balance is the hardest part, to know how much you need versus how much you don't need. But that actually makes sense, because it's funny. It's like we're so busy during the week. And a lot of the times on the weekends when I have nothing to do, it's like I'm so happy. And then I could literally lay around all day on a Sunday. And then sometimes I feel guilty about it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so lazy. Like, why am I laying around? But to your point, I think that those are the things that like build capacity. So I just need to be quiet and not talk to anyone for sometimes a couple hours on a Sunday or all day and watch my shows and do nothing. But then it like gives me energy for the week ahead. And I used to look at it more harshly, like, I'm so lazy, like, why don't I just like be doing things like everybody else? But then I'm like, no, I actually like, this is what my body needs and whatever. So it just takes the pressure off of you, I think, too.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, because when you were beating yourself up for taking the time or questioning whether it was okay, guess what? You were spending capacity dollars. So it was like,
that's right.
You didn't get the benefit of the activity. You actually, maybe you broke even. Maybe you overspent just because you were being critical, right? That's a big cost. And I love that you can give yourself to that now. And I appreciate it so much for myself, because it's not easy. And we have to recognize that,
Yeah. And I think women too, we put more pressure on ourselves. So things, even like, I remember even when my kids were little, or like even friends now, it's like the self-care piece. People don't take it as seriously. Oh, I don't have time to do X, Y, Z, or I don't, whatever. And then when you do those things, whether it's getting your nails done or getting facial, or all those things that you sort of like sometimes feel guilty about doing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, to your point, like those are the things that fill up your bank. And I think us as women put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Like, well, I don't have time to do that stuff. That's like not, but we have to allow ourselves.
Yes. And when you start looking at it more from that accounting standpoint, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Take away some of the judgment around it. I always tell people, we're just scientists, put on your scientific lab coat. What does your data show? When I give myself that time, what is the result? When I don't, what is the result? And usually what is the result looks like I got less done. I was cranky with everyone. I didn't want to, and it built up, and then I just crashed and had a whole week, where I got nothing done. The data's not good. So it's okay to look at it objectively, without judgment. Just, do I like this?
Yeah. And I think the older you get too, the more you realize that, because I think there's a certain stretch of time, at least I know for me, when I was working in the corporate world and my kids were little, I was like running on empty. Like I do things for myself here and there, but like, you're just like a robot until something happens, right? Like that's like, I was like a running on empty robot for 20 years. And then all of a sudden I had vestibular migraines, and that completely changed the game for me.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I started this podcast, because I want to start talking about this kind of stuff. But that was like what slowed me down. Because I was like, okay, I have to pay attention to myself now. I have to drink my water. I have to do all these things. Otherwise I'm not gonna be able to function.
Yeah.
But sometimes something like that happens, like a health issue, or sometimes someone, has, nervous, breakdown, so many things happen. So, but it's hard to tell yourself that when you're a little bit younger.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Cause we're still collecting that data. And I think, the one of the beautiful things about being a little older, is we have a lot of data if we're paying attention, right? It's easy to overlook it. Like you said, during those years when you were just stretched beyond, then you were probably overspending in your capacity account every single day, and your body probably gave you those little subtle signs, right? Your system was trying to get your attention, but because you were running, because everyone else and everything else was so important, you really couldn't tune into them. Or if you did, you said, not now, right? And then the body said, oh, okay, we need to get her attention. We have to talk a little louder. And then the migraines came in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also, I don't know if you talk about this or think about this, but like living environment, I think is an interesting one too. Cause I remember, I I lived in New York City for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people feed off that energy, and sometimes I do, but I feel like when I was living in the city for a long time, when you were doing that, it's a constant like fight or flight. Like, you can never truly be relaxed, or at least I couldn't. Unless, and at the time I didn't have the tools to like make my home calmer and think about some of the things I think about now. But I think being in a busy city or things like that can also kind of contribute to that state.
Yeah, you're spot on. Everything contributes to the state. Yeah. But certainly, I mean, noise, light, smells, literally everything. Just knowing that chaos is happening outside your window is certainly, your body, your nervous system has to take in every stimulus, and it has to decide, is this a cue of danger or is this a cue of safety? And just that process alone, even if it determines, oh, this is a cue of safety, it still costs something. It still matters that you had to bring that information in and make that determination. So it is so costly. And to have the time, just, not all the time. It's not like we need to go live in a yurt somewhere in the middle of nowhere, but to know for your system, what is that appropriate balance? And the difficult thing, or one of the many difficult things, is the higher your nervous system gets in its activation, the margin becomes smaller and smaller. So something that would have not cost you much when you were, regulated and calm, let's say, the noise outside your window, it would have cost you 10 cents of capacity if you're feeling good and feeling regulated. That same noise, if you're up in survival mode, costs you $10. Right. So our system just becomes less and less able to take things in and to function when we are living in survival. So it's everything.
And sometimes you don't have a choice. I was at a event the other night for my son's school, and it was like in this one, like a gym, but just like a gathering area. Mm-hmm. It was so bright, like those artificial, really bright lights. And there were so many people, and it was so loud and crowded. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to be in here the next 2 hours? It was awful.
Yeah.
And it totally drained me. Mm-hmm. And I started to get a headache. I was like I could not. I started doing some of my breathing because I was just like,
nice.
It was so overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. And so if we want to be in life, right, and be able to do these things, obviously this was important to you. This was a worthwhile 2 hours, right? It wasn't like you didn't want to do it, or that you could just walk away and be like, you know what, I'll be outside.
Right.
But it's also important for you to recognize this is very costly to my system.
Yes.
So how can I provide for myself? And one of the things is just allowing ourselves to recognize that and to say, I see that this is hard for you. Yeah, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. I'm here for you, right? Just that alone, because sometimes what we need to do, or what we have grown accustomed to doing, is just, okay, bye. I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to check out, essentially, which is my claim to fame. That's what I used to do. That was my go-to. And then now, not only are you experiencing it, but you're experiencing it alone with no help and no support. So just the fact that you could name it is wonderful. The fact that you tried your best, you offered yourself, here's some breathing exercises that can, support you through this experience. That was awesome, right? That turned the dial down a little bit, I bet. Maybe taking some breaks and kind of making it work for you. That's something that I have 6 children and 2 stepchildren. So you can imagine how many basketball games and presentations and band concerts and choir, and it can be a lot. So there are definitely things that I do. You might see me sneaking in, 15 minutes before the program ends, and it's just what I need to do for myself. And then the other thing is afterwards, can you recognize, wow, that was a lot. I need to do something on this end to kind of make up for it, to replenish my account. So I need a full day
Right.
or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah. But when you know your system and you're somatic literate, meaning I know what's going on in there and I can hear what's needed, then we can flow with life. We can navigate it.
Yeah. What are some, for our listeners, like what are some nervous system tools that people can use to help them calm down in situations where they feel like they're, withdrawing from their account, and what can they do if it doesn't work?
Yeah, great question. I actually have a YouTube video I did a couple of weeks ago on this very topic, because it's so common for people to say, I tried this and I tried this and it doesn't work, So let me first say that we have a lot of power over our nervous system. There are many exercises. I teach well over 50 in my groups and programs because, just like a good handyman, we're not going to show up to a job with just a screwdriver, just a hammer, right? We need a lot of different tools to match the situation. So there is a lot of tools, and they are as simple as humming and breathing like you did at the event. There are things like putting your hand on your heart, or checking in with your body, even better, saying, where would you like support? And finding a place that needs that gentle pressure. So, there are just endless ways and endless tools. But what I always really want to bring into the conversation is the understanding that your nervous system can't be hacked. And we don't get to tell the nervous system how it should feel. So often we go into, oh gosh, I'm feeling a little stressed, or I'm really whatever. Okay, what do I need to do to calm down? It's kind of like, well, maybe the right question instead, not maybe, for sure the right question instead is, hey system, I see that that's going on for you. What do you need? Right? It may not be to calm down. There's a lot of people, if I ask them to do some deep breathing, they will freak out. Because their body is saying, no, we're not supposed to be calm right now, right? The analogy I give is like if you were running from a bear through a field, right? And I jog up next to you, I'm like, hey, Amy, these wildflowers sure are cute. Let's sit down and pick some and smell some, wanna? You'd be like, no, are you crazy? We're both going to get eaten. So asking your system to calm down sometimes when there's a lot of energy inside is not effective. And that doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean that the tools don't work. It means that's not the tool for the job. So maybe your system, if it's trying to tell you something, you need to kind of recognize, what are you trying to tell me? And then what is the tool that can help us process or release this energy, as opposed to just shove it down some more? That is, again, it just keeps coming back to that relationship with your body, right? Not here's what I'm going to tell you to do and how I want you to be, right? That's what got us here in the first place. That's not what we want. We want this beautiful open communication. And that's how I teach somatic experiencing. This is how you build a relationship with your body. And then it's a moment by moment thing. What do you need right now? What can I offer you? So much more effective than, okay, when you're feeling stressed, do these, 3 exercises. It's not that they're bad. Try
It's
them.
just that they may not work. That's interesting. I never thought about that side of it. What's an example of a tool to not calm down, but to go with whatever, like, let's say you are in a scene you're running from a tiger, or it's more of a energy type thing.
Yeah.
What is something? Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite tools, and it's one that always ends up in people's toolboxes, it's called the push away. And it's really easy. It helps your system, because if your system is registering threat, right? Hey, something's going on. I need you to respond, the system says. If you can do something that indicates to the system, hey, I took care of that. It's okay to calm down now, not calm down just for the sake of calming down, right? So the push away is a very simple exercise. It's a good one. I can describe it without needing to see it. And really, it's just as simple as getting kind of comfortable and seated and trying to connect with your body's energy. Sometimes that can be really intense. So you just want to kind of stay in that window of tolerance where you can be aware, but not necessarily, beyond what you can actually sit in at the moment. And I want you to just imagine that there's a giant boulder in front of you. It is substantial, but you can move it if you try really hard, right? So put your hands straight up in front of you. Imagine that they're resting on that boulder. And you're going to take a deep breath, and when you release your breath, you're going to push that boulder, keep some tension on your arms, and really imagine that you're pushing this boulder out away from you. And when your arms are stretched out, you can either leave them there, you can swoop them out to the side or up overhead. And then just kind of return to your natural position and just kind of let that integrate. And that's something you can do 2 or 3 times and see if your body can say, oh, you can try it with your eyes open, with your eyes closed. I always have this sense that when I open my eyes, I like to do it with my eyes closed. When I open my eyes, it's like, oh, wow, this space just got a lot bigger. I've kind of claimed this space for myself. So there's no right or wrong reaction to it.
That's cool.
Yeah. A lot of times we don't have that immediate reaction because when our systems are elevated and we're like, oh, now I'm trying this new thing also, so I always invite people to, give it a little chance. Do it 2 or 3 days, a few times before you make an evaluation of whether this is something that could be helpful or not.
Yeah, I like that boulder idea. That's a good one to visualize and like an easy one to remember in certain situations if you can do it.
Exactly. You might have to make a quick trip to the bathroom to do it.
Exactly. And come back and then you're refreshed. Okay. If someone reads your book, You're Not the Problem, right? That's your first book. You have a few?
Okay. I've contributed to projects, but this is my first solo book.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Amazing. So if someone reads it, like what's the big takeaway what's the big mindset, what's the big mindset shift that you hope someone takes away from it?
Yeah. I mean, the title says it all. I want them to know they are not the problem. Just the way we opened our conversation today was by saying, we see these things in life that are maybe not going great, or the fact that, we are stressed and overwhelmed, or something that we want to achieve that we just can't seem to follow through with. And we tell ourselves, I'm the problem. I'm not trying hard enough. I need to get my shit together, whatever it is. And the real truth is that we need to give our system the conditions that it needs in order to be able to follow through and get out of survival mode. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier the freedom formula. Is that what you were saying before about the bank depositing, or is that something different?
Yeah, so that is a one aspect of the freedom formula, but the freedom formula is the entire framework of my work. And what we're talking about today is phase 1. It is the foundation of this beautiful house that we're building that is our life. It's the concrete basement that we can build on. So when someone has a well-regulated nervous system, they have capacity and they have energy, those 3 things, that's your foundation. You can build anything on that, And when we focus on our behavior over here, which is the 3rd phase, what we're doing is trying to construct 2nd floor balconies on a weak foundation, and they crumble over and over. So taking the time to build that foundation of safety, capacity, and energy, like I said, anything can be built on that. 2nd phase is our mindset and our limiting beliefs, the thought patterns and systems that we developed to make sense of our world, finding out who you are authentically. And then with that resilience and regulation and the clarity that comes from the 2nd step, we move into the 3rd step, which is own it. You've done the work. Now build the life. Now we can take the steps, and they're going to be compared to before, they're going to be effortless. You're going to see yourself creating and breaking things down and taking the steps towards whatever it is that means that is success for you.
I love that. Okay. Last question before we get into our wrap session. So if someone listening is feeling overwhelmed or stuck in the same patterns, what's one small thing that they can do to start working with their nervous system instead of fighting it? Or I just think there's some people, like we were talking about earlier, that just like think it's not important, or like, I don't believe in it, or whatever. Like, what's like something small that they could do to just start trying it?
Yeah.
Trying to think about it.
Yes. Great question. And to a system that's already overwhelmed, we need to go in microscopically, right? Mm-hmm. The last thing you want to do is try to overhaul your whole life when you're in that state. And so we've been talking a lot about the work being relational and with yourself, mm-hmm. right? And about creating the space to even be able to hear what's going on for yourself. You're a perfect example, because for those 20 years, there was no space in your life to hear what you needed, what's going on, to be able to look at it. And so that's where I ask and invite people to start, is by creating a time. I think preferably in the morning before the world asks anything of you. When we wake up, we have the type of brain waves that make it more possible, and we're more open to suggestion and things, to carve out 2 or 3 minutes in the morning to go in your special place, sit with yourself, and just check in and just ask what's going on in there, right? And if you can, offer some support that your system seems to be asking for. If you don't hear anything, that's okay. That's just data too. And that's the starting point. So doing this for a couple of weeks, something's going to open up in that, and then you'll know the next step. But I think that's a beautiful starting point. It doesn't ask much of you, right?
Right.
But it's okay if it's hard. It may very well be. And that helps us understand some things too.
Yeah. I like that. Very tangible. Anyone can do it. Even the naysayers.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay. This is such a great topic, and I'm so glad we've brought it a little bit to light. We could talk so much more about this, but let's get into our fun little wrap session here. What is your favorite wellness or beauty hack?
Oh my goodness. Red light.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love red light. I think it's something I actually incorporate it into my morning time. So it doesn't require anything extra of me.
Do you have like a red light mask, or do you have a red light like wall, or what do you use?
And
the panels,
yeah. And actually it's a like a sleeping bag system. And I just take it apart and I hang one here and I sit on one, because that's what works for me, right? Because I knew I wasn't going to use it. If I had to lay down and just, which that's okay. But I can sit and do my journaling and all that. And I'm just all bathed in it. So, and it's, in my mind, it is so helpful for so many different things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have a red light mask that I still don't wear. I have it, but I don't wear it, but I need to wear it more. But yeah, I love red light every time I do it. So good one. All right. The next one is our 5-minute flow. So you have to get out the door in 5 minutes. Like, what's your quick beauty routine? Like, what are you throwing on to get out the door?
I am throwing, I've always thought it's such an interesting question, because I think what you grab really tells a lot about who you are and your personality,
Yeah.
I remember I had someone ask me this like 35 years ago, and I chose my foundation and my mascara. And I didn't think about it. I just was like, yeah, for sure. I'm going to grab those two. And she chose lipstick. And I was like, oh, how interesting. It would be my tendency to hide, and her tendency to be like, here I am. So I thought about that. Like, it really tells us something. But I have, I don't want you to see my imperfections. So I'm going to pick the thing that helps hide.
Which is your foundation still?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. What is one product that you've repurchased more than you can count?
I have to think about that. What is the name? I always see labels, and it's such a sight thing. I think it's my definitely my sunscreen. It's uh darn it.
It's okay if you don't remember the name. I can't remember any names.
The one I love for body, I can't think of my face one right now, but the one I love for body it's from Ourselves.
Oh, I don't know that brand.
Yeah, I love this brand. My esthetician turned me onto it, and they have a whole line. Everything I've tried from there is amazing, but the sunscreen, like it goes, you can spray it on, which I love spraying on, and
that's
because
nice.
a lot of sprays don't, they're not as good. This one is fantastic, and it's so light. And it just makes it so easy to get out the door for a run. It's effortless, it feels like. And that used to
I love that.
a big thing. You're going to go out and you're like, oh God, I got to put on this sunscreen.
Right. Especially where you are in Colorado, it's always sunny. So you got to do it all the time.
Exactly. And I've tried this one last year and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. I didn't skip once because
that's great. I have to check out that brand. I haven't heard of that. Okay. And it sounds like you have a lot of things, but how do you maintain your daily nirvana? Like, how do you keep balanced and just getting through the days?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, I recognize when I talk about, kind of what I do and things, I realize it sounds like I'm really high maintenance. Maybe I am, and that's okay. But you will never see me schedule anything before 10 a.m. because I have I have to have a time in the morning, like you described on your Sunday, where you're able to respond to yourself. Like, okay.
Yeah, like a slow morning.
Yes, I'm going to do my morning practice. It's going to take an hour. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to have that. I'm saying for me,
right.
I look forward to it. I'm like, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, is it time to get up? Oh, it's only 3:30. Okay. Because I can't wait to go and spend that time,
Yeah.
And then, I think the other thing that plays out a lot throughout the day is I really do check in with my capacity several times and redo my day. I like to have a little bit of structure. It helps kind of keep me in the guardrails, but at the same time, I really appreciate, because I too spent at least 35 years pushing myself past capacity every day, and to now know that can't happen to me. It might happen once because I choose to, like your situation, it's worth it to be in that loud environment and everything for your son, or I'm working on a project and I'm choosing, for the next 2 days, I'm going to go ahead and let myself, but here's how I'm going to make it up. To know that I'm never going to be in that place again is so incredible that I don't risk it. I protect it. Like my life depends on it, because it does.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I walk, I have to take a break. I have to go, even if it's like 5 minutes, I don't care.
Totally.
I got to get up from my desk and go move and be outside. And it's surprising. It sounds like a lot, but because I've brought them in and been collecting the data, and I see what happens if I don't, it just flows so seamlessly. And it feels easy,
Yeah. When you were talking, it just reminded me, I think too, we as women have a hard time setting those boundaries for ourselves. And I noticed, like, I don't know, as I got older, working in corporate America, I started doing these things, but I don't think I realized at the time why I was doing it. But like, if I had a business trip, instead of like flying in that morning and going to meetings all day and going to dinner that night, I'd fly in the night before, get a good night's sleep, and then go. I'm like, because I have to, because otherwise I'll be so burnt out. And I was just doing that. Or like, if I had back meetings all day, I would make sure I'd schedule like 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, just to get my bearings and breathe. So I'm not like on calls all day. But it's like, sometimes you're just doing that thing because like somewhere in your brain is telling you like you need time. But you don't realize you're doing it. But thinking back, that's why I was doing it. I was like, I need to protect my peace, Yes,
you had a strong intuition and you were able to listen to that. And I think that's a great point, because a lot of people think, well, I can't. Right? There's no way. But you're exactly.
Yeah, I'm not allowed, or, they don't let themselves have boundaries because other people or like whatever.
Yeah. Or they're operating like I was talking about our adaptations of thought. They're operating from a belief system that says, I have to prove myself, and people who are, worthy, they don't take breaks. They get up at 5 and they work solid until, So it's partly that, right? Even if you know what you should be doing or could be doing, you might have to work with the part of you that thinks, oh, but if I do that, they're going to think my job's not important, or that, I'm a weakling, or whatever it is, whatever the story is.
And it's so true. And if you think about it, or I listen to a lot of like CEOs talk, et cetera, they all have a morning routine or like things they do to keep themselves straight. I mean, they're not running on empty. They like have a structured schedule, but it seems like they always have things built in.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody makes it to the top in survival mode. And if they do, they're not there for long, because there will be a crash, Yeah. And I think you're right. And I think a lot of people, the idea is, well, if I start, doing these things like Amy, if I start taking this break, or if I come in the night before all these things, then I'm not going to be effective at my job. Right. And the opposite is true.
People are going to think I'm weak.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the opposite is true. When you start showing up and you've got all these great ideas because you're not in survival mode, right? Survival brain has good ideas for how to stay alive. And that's about it. Right.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Yeah. I have never seen a person start to take care of themselves and do what they need, get out of survival mode and have their life get smaller. Haven't seen it yet.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Well, on that, where can everybody find you?
Yeah. Well, I would love for them to visit me at the website, because on the website, there's links to my YouTube channel. There's links to all kinds of free resources, but most especially, I'd love to invite people to download the free introduction to my book, You're Not the Problem. And in there, you're going to get a good sense of what the framework is like, and what is this idea that you're not the problem.
Amazing. We'll put all the links in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was a lovely conversation.
Thank you, Amy. And thanks for the beautiful space you've created.
Thanks for listening to Wellness Junkies. For more on today's episode, follow us on Instagram at Wellness Junkies Official and find us on TikTok and YouTube at Wellness Junkies. You can also head to wellnessjunkiesofficial.com for expanded show notes, product links, and more. If you love the episode, leave a review and share it with a friend. We appreciate the love. Catch you next week. Bye.